bullet tracers. Spray and pray while the cloud expands. Going ad-lib, cheek clapping rogues in slow-mo. This extra respawn game, it is just practice mode. UK flow over industrial sins. Pestilence pumping like a rave baseline. Stacks on stacks, now the pain's divine. Ascension, Eclipse gears, they got them bleeding out. Drip, drip, stinger high pops, watch them dance about. Pit Volup's grinning through the D's as smoke. Let's tick, sing to the sub-bass notes. Frequency, hunters try squawk, but the cloud don't lie. Visible, now his health bar's doing the wave goodbye. Goodbye, sticky burn. Burn, 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 burn.
Did I just respawn again? What did the agent say to the other agent? Your build is just a walking OSHA violation with an LMG. Haha, dag joke of the day. What's going on, DAGS? If you're new to the channel, welcome to Die Again Gaming. I'm your host, Nox, where my favorite thing to do is respawn, and it's not because I'm good. Today's video is going to feature the Pestilence LMG alongside the Vile Mask and the Eclipse Protocol gear set. I'm going to combine 4 different dots to do massive damage to all the enemies at once. And before we get into that, yes, I know the Pestilence is not a status effect, it is a debuff. So let's break it down. We're going to have the Pestilence Plague of the Outcast debuff, which is going to be the first dot. And for the next 2 dots, thanks to our skills, we are going to have a bleed and a burn. And for the final dot, which is also another debuff from the Vile Mask, which is going to get triggered every time you apply a bleed or burn to the enemy. Let me sneak this in real quick, DAGS. If you comment saying that the Pestilence isn't a status effect and it's not going to work with the Vile Mask or Eclipse Protocol, you're going to have to donate $1 or at least subscribe. So we're going to have the Plague of the Outcast taking. We're going to have the burn taking, the bleed taking, and we're also going to have the Vile Mask taking. And when you combine all of those, we're going to have 4 different dots on the field when we play. I'll get into a little bit more details once I get to the build breakdown section. This build is going to excel if you're playing in a full group, because not only are you going to provide 4 different dots, you're also going to provide a lot of crowd control. Burns are going to leave the enemies standing still, flailing their arms in the air. And if they're behind cover, they're going to stand up as well. And when the enemies are on fire and burning, they're usually not shooting back. And then we have the bleed, which is going to be another damage source, but also is going to prevent the enemies from sprinting around the map. And on top of the burn and bleed crowd control doing damage, we are also going to have the Vile Mask toxic delivery dealing damage as well. And as long as you're shooting your Pestilence and building up Plague of the Outcast stacks, you're going to deal damage from that debuff as well. And thanks to the Eclipse Protocol set, bleed and the burns are going to spread every time the enemy goes down while affected by those status effects. And I really like running this build when I'm doing open world activities, control points, and especially when I'm doing bounties with my clanmates or friends. And the reason is because for those types of open world activities, the enemies are usually gathered up, they spawn in the same spot, and it's really easy to affect them all with all of your different dots. Crowd control all the enemies at the same time, and then between yourself and your teammates, you could just pick off the enemies really easily. But don't worry, if you don't have a team to play with or you like to play in solo, you could also play this build solo. Just keep in mind you are going to be very, very squishy, because with this loadout, I am running glass cannon with no armor cores. This is going to be a perfect build if you're running challenging with all directives, or if you're playing heroic with all directives in the team, meaning that the more directives you have on, the faster you'll level up. So without further delay, let's get right into the build. Alright, DAGS, before we get into the build breakdown, let's do a quick break for the DAGS community shoutout. And today I have Fat Dad FC. And I particularly like doing community shoutouts like this when I notice that there is a content creator that's close to getting to 1,000 subscribers. And if you're not sure what that means, it's pretty much when a content creator hits 1,000 subscribers, their channel will be one step closer to getting monetized. Here's a little bit about Fat Dad FC. And if you enjoy watching legendary content, his channel is jam-packed with that. Once again, support the community by subscribing to your favorite content creators. Alright guys, so here is the 4-dot build with the Vile Mask, Pestilence, Burns, and Bleed. Starting off, we're going to go with the Gunner Specialization. And of course, we got the Pestilence for our first dot. Both the damage to target out of cover and the damage to armor is going to apply to all 4 of the different dots that we are going to be dishing out. Also keep in mind that the talent Plague of the Outcast is a debuff and it will not benefit from any type of status effect boosting attributes, but the tick damage from Plague of the Outcast is going to get boosted by weapon damage and any type of amplified damage sources.
For example, in this loadout, we have the perfect glass cannon, and also the sympathy aggravator is going to boost the plague ticks as long as the enemy is under a status effect, like the bleed or the burn. Back to the pestilence, we're going to utilize the plague of the outcast just as a finisher for our skills. Our sticky burn and our stinger hive is going to dish out the majority of the damage. Biomass is going to do some damage. And then once we get a fully stacked plague of the outcast out there, it's going to do a little bit more damage to finish off the enemies that are not dead yet. For the secondary, I have Everlasting Gaze, pretty much for the talent Perfect Perpetuation. So pretty much with this talent, you're just going to get a headshot, and the next status effect is going to do more damage to last longer. You could honestly use any gun with Perpetuation on it. I just like using Everlasting Gaze because this is literally the only time I ever do use Everlasting Gaze, so I might as well give it some, room to shine. For the sidearm, it could be whatever you want. Moving on to the attributes, the reason why I went with gunner specialization, so I'll get that 10% armor on kill. That way I don't have to worry about trying to equip like a pallet size for armor on kill or equipping armor on kill mods. And you can see I got 6 skill tiers. Starting off the mask, I have the exotic vial. It comes with the talent toxic delivery, which is also another debuff, but unlike the pestilence plague of the outcast debuff, the vial's talent toxic delivery does get boosted by status effect attributes. And every time with this loadout that we apply a burn or a bleed, toxic delivery is going to go off, with the base damage being 50% of the concussion grenades damage. For the chest piece, I went with the sacrifice, and the reason being is because it comes with the talent perfect glass cannon, and that additional 5% amplified damage is going to apply to all our different dots and damage sources. And that is why I prefer the sacrifice over having like a China light, which is going to only increase the damage that our vile mask does, or having like a pat trophy, which is only going to increase the amount of damage that our pestilence does. While the additional 5% amplified damage from the sacrifice is going to apply to everything on our loadout. And then finally, I have 4 pieces of the Eclipse Protocol. This thing is going to give us the 50% status effects. We're going to get some skill haste, hazard protection, and then the 4 pieces is going to give us the indirect transmissions. And the way that this works is any enemy that's under a status effect that you set off and they die, it's going to transfer to other enemies within range. And just keep in mind, for this specific loadout, the only stuff that's going to transfer is going to be the burn from the sticky burn and the bleed from the stinger hive. Indirect transmission is not going to spread the vile mass debuff toxic delivery, nor the pestilence plague of the outcast debuff. And because we have the backpack, we're also going to unlock the talent sympathy aggravator, which amplifies your damage that you do by 30% to enemies under a status effect. And once again, the status effect that's going to trigger this is going to be the burn from our sticky burn and the bleed from our stinger. The talents from the vile mask and the pestilence will not trigger the sympathy aggravator, but both these dots from the pestilence and the vile mask will be amplified by 30%. As long as the enemy already has a different status effect, i.e. the burn or the bleed. Then for the attributes, I got status effect on everything. And then for the 3 armor mods, I got skill haste. The skills, you're going to want to rock the sticky burn. And then for the secondary skill, I went with the Hive, but you could put whatever other status effect skill you could want to use. Just keep in mind, if you're playing with all directives, having a Stainer Hive is going to be the best to use, because every time you use your sticky burn, your other skill is going to go on cooldown. And because we have 6 skill tiers, the refill speed is pretty fast on the Hive. And you don't want to use something like the cam launcher, because once you use your sticky burn, all of the ammo is going to go on cooldown, which kind of sucks. But if you're not playing with the cool skills directive, you could use something like the riot foam works good, or any other skill that you prefer. For the active modifier, I went with Assault Link, so I could pop this bad boy. It's going to give me weapon damage, and my pestilence plague of the outcast ticks are going to hit harder. And then for the passes, I have hands on, I have tech upgrades, and I have a tier a day to give me some health. You can mix and match these as you see fit. These are just the way I like to run it. Stat-wise, our offense is straight doo-doo. Our defense is also doo-doo, but we do have that 76k armor on kill, which is going to keep us alive. And then we have that 73% skill haste right now. And half that skill haste is actually going to go to the skill damage as well. So the initial explosion of our sticky burn is going to do more damage, and the explosions from the Stinger and Hive is going to do more damage. Alrighty, DAGS, once again, here is the 4 dot build.
Alrighty, DAGS, let me know what you guys think about this build. This is the same build that I ran last season. It's not the most highest weapon damage dealing build, but that's not what this build is about. This build is about being able to get out your status effects and having 4 different ticking damage dots over time, whatever you want to call it, on the field at the same time. Like I said before, you have the plague debuff, which is not affected by any type of status effect attributes. You have the vile mask doing its thing. You got your bleeds and you got your burns. And when you combine all 4 of them, getting boosted by the amplify damage from the glass cannon or perfect glass cannon, depending on what you're running, and then you get the 30% amplified damage from the backpack from the 4-piece Eclipse Protocol set, yeah, you do some good damage. While not each individual number is going to be very high, but when you combine all 4 of the ticks plus the damage you're doing from shooting the enemies, you're definitely going to be clearing out rooms and open world activities pretty quick. And this build actually shines even more when you play in group play, because the more enemies there are, the more that your status effects is going to spread. You're going to do more damage. You're going to get more kills. You're going to get more XP, more multi-kill XP as well. All right, so yeah, Dags, let me know what you guys think about the build and let me know if you'll play it. That's all for now, and happy farming.
Chat. What do I do now? Where next?